There's a great book called Extreme Ownership that talks about the ability as an individual at any level of an organization to take accountability for their piece of the pie the same way an owner might of the organization. How do you take accountability for receiving the task, getting it completed, and handing it off to ensure someone else's success afterwards? Early days, we were trying to find someone who was good at technology or good at accounting, hopefully had some good English skills, and try to make them better. We've always felt in order to be a good consultant, you need to have a really strong comprehension of technology, but not just technology for technology's sake, but the functional way that it gets applied to solve a business problem. We need to understand accounting, we need to understand finance and supply chain and sales and how a business truly operates so that you can take that technology and put it to work in an effective way that solves a problem for the customer. And then communication, not just English so we can communicate efficiently, but practically how do you manage a meeting? How do you manage expectations? How do you interact in a way that brings the customer along in a journey that lets you solve the problem? Most folks that have been in the consulting world long enough will point to the idea of change management and the importance of taking people on an adoption journey to help them recognize that what you're doing is actually additive. It's going to help them in a particular way. And so, we'd take someone who's a college grad, strong in accounting maybe, and then try to teach them all the other skills that would help turn them into a competent solution architect, a competent model builder, a competent consultant at the end of the day. Over time, we had to achieve a level of excellence across all three of those areas, the technical, the functional, and the communication. And what that meant is, even if we let people train for years, which we have done, you still had some folks that were never going to make the mark at a level we felt was necessary in order to put them to work in a way that would truly solve the customer problem. And so we then looked at that and said, okay, well, maybe there are folks who are really good at two of those three things. Are there ways to put them to work in an effective way where we can create a job, they can solve a problem for a customer, and we have an opportunity to take people that otherwise may not be upskilled in this way and try to find a home for them, a place for them in that particular way. And that led us to go down a journey of exploring other ways to deploy people to help solve customer problems. So accounting services, the sales and marketing piece, looking at saying, okay, maybe someone understands the functional and they're good at communication, but they're never going to understand the technical piece. That's just not within their skill set. Well, where can we put that person to use to solve a problem in some different ways? And so that's what really led us to launch the Fadmoor Academy in Rwanda initially, and starting to expand that into Peru today to say, okay, maybe we can widen that funnel of folks that can come into the program, and we can actually keep the funnel a little wider all the way through the program, because at the end of it, maybe they don't go down the consulting path, but we have other places that we can put them to work in a way that keeps the same core principles of underappreciated talent with skill sets and technology to go solve a customer problem really effectively. And so that's the journey most folks come in. So they're coming in and they're going through the academy today, and then they start shadowing and learning about customers or how they can get put to work. And we always think about it in the context of, there's a great book called Extreme Ownership that talks about the ability as an individual at any level of an organization to take accountability for their piece of the pie the same way an owner might of the organization. How do you take accountability for receiving the task, getting it completed, and handing it off to ensure someone else's success afterwards? And so as we look at the training and development, we're trying to help people own a different piece of the pie in a way that allows them to fully solve a customer problem, to really be successful at addressing the core challenge inside of there. And so people will come through the academy process and they'll spend several months on that. And then ultimately they'll transition into roles that slowly take on more and more responsibility until we feel like they can truly own the customer relationship in a way that allows them to take and run with it the same way I might. That's been incredible to watch and see the transformation. And it's exciting to be a part of that, to see that. Early on, it was Michelle and I coaching and training each employee going through this process. And over time, you then started to have people who were trained training others. And that's been a really unique experience to kind of see that progression start to sustain itself, not just from a business sustainability perspective, but from a training sustainability, and see that continue to carry forward as well.